So that is it about data structure and algorithm. So let me run our code so that we can begin solving problems one after the other. So this week is all about problem solving, trying to reason like a programmer. And now let's look at our first problem is we want to solve a problem. Let's say, okay, our problem, algorithms, problems and solutions. Okay. So let me minimize this and so minimize this. So the first problem we'll solve now is counting the number of vowels in a string. Okay, let's say problem number 1. Count the number of vowels in a given string. Okay, our solution. There are different ways you can solve it, but before I go and solve this, I'm going to create a function. I'm going to create a function. We have discussed about function when we're discussing the object. Now, in this case, we are discussing, we are creating the object a little bit different, the function a little bit different from how we do it. This is a high level function here. It's not based on an object, it's independent on its own. So we can call this count vowels. This is the name of our function, and then this is the string. So we can call this vowels. Okay, or we can call it sentence. Okay, so how do we count this? If you remember our array, okay, let me just ask us one after the other. Chinedu, can you give us, how do you think we can solve this? Which of the problems or the data structure or that is helpful for us? This is a string. So from all the principles we have been learning, like loop, arrays, all those things, what do you think we can do to count the vowels? First of all, let's get what are the vowels in English language?
Yeah, 5.
Okay, so let's list them.
A, E, O, U, I,
O,
O,
I, O, and U. That's it. That is all of it.
yes, sir.
Okay. And now, in a sentence, how do we know that a particular thing data is either of them? How do we know that this particular one is a string, or is A or E or I or U? Now, you remember when we treated if statement or switch, and we said that you can use it to check if a condition is true or not, isn't it? Now, if we can check that a data or an element inside this sentence is a string, now we can then, it's either A, E, or I, or O, or U. It means we can use an if statement to check the values that we get when we look through this, and then compare them whether they are either of these. If it is either of these, it means that that particular one is a vowel. Then we can increase our count. So we can then need a count variable here, and then make the default value to be 0. So what we can do here now is to create an object or a variable, like we create all of them. Let's say A equals A. We can do it something like this. We assign a value to A. We can equally do this for E. Let E equals E. Okay, with this we can do that for all of them, but this will be kind of repetitive. Okay, no problem. Let's leave this now and use a switch statement to solve this. We'll use different approaches to solve this. So solution 1 is using switch statement. So we can use our switch statement. Our switch statement now is sentence. The option there will be sentence. Do we use sentence, or we should create a loop separately and then go through this? Or we should loop this. Okay, so let's loop through for I. Remember, I think I don't know if I told you this earlier. You can loop through a string the way you do for array. So we can say let our I equals 0. I is less than sentence. Sentence dot length, the length of the sentence, and then I plus plus. Okay, so this is where we do our switch. So we can say switch, our key is sentence, and then I, the value that is inside the sentence at each iteration of the sentence. So now we now come and say if it is A, if it is A, our count should increase, count plus plus. Okay, if we have another case now, case is B. If it is the second one is E, then we'll also have our count plus plus.
So there's no block, there's no break after the first the case A.
Okay, thank you. It's always easy to have this omission and create a problem. So let's say case, the next one is I. Is I. Then we also increase count plus plus. And then we have a break. Then the next case is case. What is the next? After I, we now have O. Okay. So if it is O, then we also increase count. Then we have another one case, the last one, which is U. Case U. Then we have our count, then plus plus. Okay. Now our default, we just break it. If it doesn't match, we just break it. We don't want to do anything. Now let's run our code. Let's in our console.log and count a number of vowels. Let's just say number of vowels. Then we call our function, which is count vowels. Now we are executing the function. Then so let's write a sentence here. We are learning problem solving using a JavaScript. All right, so if we run our code now and then go to our console, remember that I think there is an issue here. We are supposed to return our count. When we return the count, it means anytime we call this function, count will be the result that will be returned to us. So let's save it again. And
Sir, since there is no break, it's like after the A, after the case A, you didn't put the case E, you didn't put break.
okay, thank you. I'll make that too. Okay, any other
Case O, case O.
Case O. Okay. This is great. I think that is all. And let's link our file. We haven't linked it. So let's say our script. And then come to src ourselves. And where is it? It's inside the JS. Then we'll see already in there. So let's save. Yeah, and let's look at how we have our result. Now we have been able to count the vowels, and it's telling us that we have 14 vowels. Do we do this ourselves physically, manually to verify? We have E1, A2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So you see our count, our code is very okay. Using our switch operation, we have been able to check whether the particular data coming from this loop at each point is either A, E, I, O, or U. And if you look at this, the line of code we have written here, alternatively, there is also another solution we can write this, which can also be very, very simple. And that is, let's just create another function and say function vowels 1. If you don't get it, just ask question and we re-explain, say sentence. Now, alternatively, there is a data structure, our object, which we know normally in JavaScript. There is a data structure that works like that also, which is called map. We did discuss that earlier. And when we create an object like this, it usually refers to map. So we can save an object, say vowels equals, then we'll create our object here. And then we put A, our key here is A, and then we make it, we put true. When we say true like this, it means A is available, the value is true. We just put all of them, put the next one B, and then we put the value to be true. Then we put the next one. Then we say the value is also true. Then until we have all of them, since they are just few, let's also put IO, okay, which is true. And then put the next one, which is U, and we put true. Okay. So we can then create our loop again. In this case, we can then say for, let's still use our for loop. Let I equals 0. I is less than sentence dot length, then I plus plus. Now, instead of writing our long list here, switch operation here, we can just say if vowels. Remember, we access the value of the properties of the value of an object using the property enclosed in a quote, like with a bracket like this. So we can say sentence I. So we pick that particular item. If it is, remember, if it is found in this object, it will return true. That means this our if condition will be true. But if it is not found, it will return undefined, which means this expression will be false. So we just write this. So if it is true, we now increase our count and say count plus plus. And that's just it. We have gotten the code. So we can let create our count here. Let count equals 0. Okay. Now after the loop, we can then return our count. All right. Now look at this one. The line of code is just from 31 to 45. That is, we have not more than 11, not more than 15 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, about 13 lines. But this one, our function starts from 3 to 29. That is about 25 lines of code because of the switch operation. If we also come here, use the same variable, the same data to test our second function. See if the result will be the same. So we can then say program 1, count vowels 1, then we put this function. And let's look at our result now. You see we still have our 14. So there are different ways usually you can solve a problem in JavaScript. In programming, what you need to think is, you first of all need to understand what the problem is, and then you need to now use the data structures, all those data types and other data structures which we'll be learning subsequently. You look at them and say which one will be very helpful in solving this problem. Like in this case, we say, okay, if we put all the vowels, since there are not many in an object like this, and we can then check all the data coming from this sentence if they are in this object. If it is that, it means that data is a vowel. But if it is not there, it's not a vowel. We just keep it. So if it is there, we count it, and then we return our count, and we've solved the problem. Alternatively, if you didn't think in this one, I can say, okay, I can use an if or switch statement to be checking the data if it is any of those vowels letters. And if it is, then I will return true. I will increase my count. Otherwise, I will just do nothing, and you will be able to solve the problem. So we see that we have been able to solve problems in two different ways using our first function, count vowel, using switch operation, and the second one using an object to save an object variable that contains all our vowels, and then we increase our count if it is on there. Now there is something else we can do. How do we know that let's use the same situation and say count the highest occurring elements or letter in a string. Okay. How do we know the highest occurring elements in a string? So let's just create our function now. And you know that for you to know this normally, you need to count all the way we counted all the data in that string, and then you'll be able to check. Okay, if this is A, you add A is 1, you see another A, you say A is 2, you see E, you say okay, E is 1, you see another E is, you count them like that one by one. And when you finish counting, you say A is 3, F is 5, but O is 7. Then you know that O occur more in this particular sentence or in this page or in this book more than any other alphabet. You can also use that to check for words. You know, you can see for a particular book and say that let me see the highest occurring word in this book, and you can write a code that will count all the words, number of times each of the words occur, and then return the highest one for you. So you can then say count highest occurring letter. So let's occurring letter. Okay, so let's just use this as param. Now, what do we do? You see, the easiest way for me to solve this, in my opinion, now is using our object. If you want to use a switch, you don't even know the letters that are in the sentence that the person is going to pass, because you are not the one. When you write a function like this, you don't expect that you be the one that will use it all the time. It could be someone in your team, or even another company might want to use the code. If you make it open source, you can make it available for them to use. So you don't really know the data they are going to pass to it. So you don't rely on creating something like this in this way to then begin to check the one that is appearing more. But you can still use an object like this and you know, create something that is meaningful and that will be very easy for you to count all the number of times the elements occur and make move in returning the highest. So let's create our object again. Let's say const letters as equals empty object. In this case, since we don't know the data that we are even expecting, we can then create an empty object. Then we can come here and create our loop again, exactly the way we have it here. We can create our loop. So let me just pick this and bring here. We have our loop now. But instead of checking for this, what we can do, we check if it is existing. We increase the number by 1. That is, if, for example, A, which is in the sentence, is already existing in this letters object, we increase it by 1. Otherwise, we just add 1 to we add it to the object and increase by 1. So what we are going to do here, we say, we write this if letter sentence A. No, this is not param, so I change this sentence to param. Okay. And what we do here now is to say this letter plus equals 1. We are increasing it by 1. That means for it to have something, it means at least it is 1. Now we increase it by 1. Otherwise, if it is not found, what we are going to do is to say this element letter, we are not adding it to the object equals 1. Now, what this code is doing here is, if let's say, for example, W, which is our first letter here, is not already in these letters, it's going to, this one will add W to it and give it the value of 1. You remember when a number is used for in an if statement like this, because it is a number valid like 1, is going to return true. But if it is 0, it will not be true. So in this case, we are increasing, giving it 1. At least W, we have seen 1 W there. So we say W is there and W is yet 1. Now, if we look again, go to the sentence and check for E. E is not there already. It's also going to come here and add E. But when you see the next E already have 1 here. So this will be true. And then it's going to increase E by 1. Now, after checking all of them, we can then come here and say our object dot. Remember that is when we were treating object, we say you can know the values that are in object using object dot values, or you can know the keys using object dot keys. So we can then say object dot keys. Let us say object dot keys, and we put our letters. We want to create an array of our object again. So let's just const keys, object dot keys. Then let's also come here const value, say object dot values. Now we have gotten our values, and then we put our object here, which is letters. Now, after getting all our values, we can then look for the highest value here. So instead of just saying the values here, we can sort our value. Remember, we did sort previously, so we can sort our values in an ascending order or descending order, depending on what you want. And if we sort it like that, we now know that the highest value will be at the beginning. So if you now want to look for the highest occurring value, at least we'll pick just the first one with either shift, or we could just say use index 0 to pick it. And then, but if we do this, we might have an issue in locating it from here. No problem. So what we are going to do here now is first of all pick our highest value. So let's say const highest value equals values, one in the first position, because we've sorted it and we've seen that it's in ascending order. So let's just console log this first and see.
But sir,
Yeah.
sir, in this what you're having in that array set is not para.
Oh yeah, yes, thank you. I just missed that.
The upper one. No, conda, yeah.
Okay. Thanks. That's great. So let's look at it now. We've gotten our highest value. Let me log this value so that let's see what is in values now. How they are sorted. So now we now know our highest value. So what we can do, we can then go into the object and say highest value. Let's not say highest is equals our object letters. Sorry, I will need to loop through. Let's loop through our key. So for let I equals 0, I is less than is dot length I plus plus. Okay. So this is our highest. I've created. Let me create highest. Let's say const highest is equals array, because in case we might have two letters that have the same number. So in that case, we might just return an array of those letters. Okay, so here we do now, if letters key I, if the letter, the value of this, I think this is key, it's not key. If the value is equals our highest value, Remember, we have gotten our highest value. So if it is equal to our highest value, it means it's one of the highest value. So we just do highest dot push. Okay. Now, after this, we can then come here and return our highest. Okay, so let's pick this again. Let's pick this again, and then we can select this and say highest letters, and we put and highest occurring letter. All right, so let's look at our code now. Okay, I think I have an issue with sentence again in line 55, which is this. So just say parents. Okay. Now we have our highest letter is error. So why is it? So let's look at our values first. We'll have our value 111. Okay, I think I sorted it in descending order. So we are supposed to pick the last. So let's see, what are we picking? Instead, let me just turn this to B minus A. Okay, so let's look at it again. We now have 6 here. All right, we have a bug now. We have to first look at our highest value is 6. We have seen that. Our highest value is 6. So if letters key is equals highest value, I think let me just make our highest value might be a string here. Sometimes this is what we face. We might just write something that is ambiguous. So let me first see what is here through our console.log now. Then we'll be able to trace what the issue is. Okay. I is not defined. Why is I not defined? Okay, I'm writing it outside. What am I doing? The console.log. That is what I want to do, and then I'll look at it. At each stage, we have 1 6. So when we get 6, we're supposed to cutting 6 here equals highest value. So let me also see what is in our highest value. It's supposed to be 6 2. The highest value. Okay, at each point is 6. So when we have 6 here, we are supposed the expression here is supposed to be true. And then, I didn't push anything. Wow, this is serious. So I'm supposed to push key. So I'm the one causing the problem. Our code is in order, but I didn't push what we are supposed to push. So this is keys. Did anyone identify what could be our issue here? So this is how we are going to. We are not thinking in terms of solving problem now. I'm looking for key. This is key is empty. Why is key empty? Okay, I think it's our G that's highest, but why am I not having G console logged here? That is my concern now. Did we remove anything? Mm, Wow, 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 wow. Okay, just a moment. Let me stop this and then stop recording and get to fix this.